All right, Greg, we are live.
Okay, here we are. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another, mastermind session with Abe and I. And before we get started, I'll say, Abe, thank you again for joining me. I know that this is a conversation that we love to have. It's all about generating listing leads, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if I think you said, did you pull up the Facebook page just to make sure
I
that
do.
we can see?
I
Okay,
was pulling it up while you were
good.
talking.
And I am doing that myself right this second to make sure that I can see any comments. Today's conversation, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was to comment and say how they feel like the seller leads off of a what's my home worth type of widget or tool. I wouldn't be surprised if some people actually wanted to tell me how poor these leads are. So, or how low quality they are, or these leads stink and everything. So feel free to say all those comments today. And not that I'm going to call you out in any way. I just want you to know that I understand that this is what the industry says about these leads. And I'm going to do my best, and Abe and I will do our best to kind of share with you why that thought is inaccurate. But I understand why we have the thought as an industry. So why don't we start there with Abe? Let me, if I can, what I'm going to do is kind of go through why do people think seller valuation leads stink? Okay. So one of the things, and you may have heard me say this in a past conversation or somewhere on YouTube, one of the challenges that I see in the industry right now is there's been a shift. There's been a shift in the way a real estate agent describes lead quality. Like years ago, lead quality, the definition of a quality lead was they were willing to purchase and they were qualified or able to purchase. They were able, like they've been pre-qualified. So we get a lead, we put them to give them to a lender. The lender pre-qualifies them. The lender lets us know, hey, these guys these buyers are golden. And then all of a sudden we're like, man, that's a quality lead. So a lot of times we were judging the lead based on what's the likelihood they were going to be able to close a transaction. Because a lot of these leads came in from yard signs, or maybe they came in from an advertisement in a real estate book, like Homes and Land or Harmon Homes, if some of you have ever heard of Harmon Homes. And so the duration of time between when we captured the lead and when they wrote a contract, it was much shorter than it is today. Well, then the market started shifting, the way the market, not the economy, the market changed, and we started getting more leads off of the internet versus the sign call. When we got a lead off the sign call, that particular lead had already seen the outside of the house because they had to see the sign. They already saw the neighborhood. They know where the schools and the grocery stores are. So they knew all that information because they were driving around that area, and then they called us. So we felt because they were very in touch with what was going on, they knew the house, that's a higher quality lead. But then the internet came along, and now all of a sudden we started getting leads from people that don't even live in our state and are thinking about moving to our state and our market. And they have no clue what the house looks, the neighborhood looks like, where the schools are. And because they could freely access that information on the internet or see the pictures on the internet, they started to call us before they came to town, before they saw the sign. What that means is we started capturing the lead in an earlier state of the process, at the top of the funnel. And it got frustrating because we'd get a lead and like, well, they're not even coming into the market for 2 months. Versus, oh, they just drove by today. They're already in the market, they just drove by today. Versus, oh, they're not even coming to town for 2 months. Then we started changing our definition of a lead. Our definition of a lead now as an industry is more defined by how quickly they're going to transact than before. Because we don't want to waste our time with people that are not going to buy for the next 6 months. So we've changed our definition of the lead at the same time that the industry is capturing leads at an early stage. So if the internet is allowing us to capture leads a year before they buy or sell, and we've changed our definition to being a quality lead is somebody who's going to want to do something in the next 90 days, then you can see that the overall lead quality in America is decreasing because we're judging it based on speed. We're no longer judging it based on the criteria that we used before. Now, I say all of that because this is a very critical part of why seller valuation leads, or the What's My Home Worth widget on Real Geeks or any other system that uses one, this is why people are negative about it. This is why people say the leads are not good quality. Oh no, they're great quality in terms of conversion, but they're perceived as poor quality in terms of speed. So if you're an agent and you want you want something to be immediate, as you can see, even in the buyers, it's not as immediate as it used to be. But if you're looking for quick sales, like here's a lead and they're ready to close in the next 30 days, like whatever system can provide that, I promise you, if you're complaining about a few dollars increase in a CRM, wait till you see the company that figures that out and how much they're going to charge for that. They're going to charge a 75% referral fee if it's a laydown. I mean, remember, we have to still do some work, right? And so the referral fee will be 75% when they can actually just say, hey, go out and sign this listing agreement. So I wanted to, Abe, start the conversation with that information because I know that most people think that these leads are low quality. I say they're high quality. We work them often. They just take a little bit more nurturing than we're accustomed to. You want to add on to that before we kind of get into like maybe a few more steps of what it takes and how you can get started with this?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to add on to that. I think that was spot on. That's about as good of a summary as you could possibly give. And it's not just, I mean, you could take that same conversation to every type of lead that's out there right now. We see the same frustration with a lot of agents out there saying that the quality of the leads are not good, whether it's bold leads, whether it's Z-Buyer, whether it's across the board.
Yes.
Offers.com, all these leads, they're no different than from one another. You have some agents that go in there, and if they've got the right mindset and the right nurture systems in place, they love these leads.
Yes.
Okay, but then you got agents that are looking for that quick sale, then the frustration is there, and they think these leads are not good or not quality, and so on and so forth. So we've come, just like you said, we've come accustomed to associating quality with quickness. How quick are they going to close? How quickly they're going to buy or sell? And then that's a mistake. That's a mistake in today's world, in today's industry. It has changed. So you've got to adapt and change along with it to be successful.
Yes. Yeah. And you and I are going to, let's go through a few items as to how we can get started on this and how you and I got started on this. And then, another thing is Abe and I are formulating what we call kind of like seller leads 2.0, which are things that we know kind of have shifted, and we're going to kind of build a course on how to really dominate with some of the new things that are coming down the line. So of course you'll know that as part of Real Geeks. And then, of course, if you want a deeper analysis, we've already done some real deep recordings and training in Real Geeks Mastery. So if you don't know about Real Geeks Mastery, message us, join Real Geeks Mastery, a coaching program that Abe and I have, and we'll do a really deep dive. But we'll do best we can to give you as much as we can within the time that we have today. So let's just go from like kind of the process of people that, maybe are not doing this, some things that they need to be doing. So, step number one is you need to probably go to Real Geeks and look at the tutorials and the videos that they have around their seller valuation tool. Get familiar with that tool And if you already have activated that tool, then then great, get familiar with it. You're going to also need to have an ads account, because what I'm going to share with you is how to boost the post, which means that you would have to spend a little bit of money with Facebook, not with Real Geeks, with Facebook, in order to boost the post. So the infrastructure that you need is going to be, you're going to have to actually make sure that you have the seller valuation tool on your website. You're going to make sure that you go and look at the tutorial so you can get kind of familiar with it. And then you're going to have some sort of ads manager account within Facebook so you can boost some ads. Besides those three things, that's like early housekeeping there, Abe. What do you think would be the next thing that someone would need to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like you said, that you definitely start by looking at the seller valuation tool within Real Geeks. It's actually a very powerful feature. It's
Yes.
one of the best that I've seen in the entire industry. What's really cool about it is, and we're going to dive into this a little bit further, is the ability to customize each ad. Meaning, like seller valuation ads have been around for a long time. People have been using them forever, and I can see where some agents feel like they're not as good as they used to be, right? But what's really cool about Real Geeks is you have the ability to make as many of these pages as possible, so you can actually tailor-made a specific ad for a specific community, and that's where we start seeing results. So definitely, number one, learn how to create these ads. Number two, create a business account with Facebook, so you can actually run these ads on Facebook. And this is what we're talking about pretty much, is running ads on Facebook. And number three, learn how to create specific.
So Abe, you're freezing up. Abe,
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
Abe,
can you hear me now?
You're freezing up quite a bit. So
Oh, really?
I'm going to repeat. Yeah, I can, but I'm going to repeat it to make sure. I can hear you right now. So
Okay.
For those of you that if you experience a little bit of lag there, basically what Abe was saying is that, one of the things that we like about the tool is your ability to customize the actual tool. For instance, if you wanted to focus on getting seller leads in a community and it's called Michigan Heights, that's the neighborhood, then what you can do is you can customize the tool where it says, find out what your home is worth in Michigan Heights. And that little detail is very, very important, because if you're going to be posting that on Facebook, there's a big difference in the attention you're going to get if it says, find out what your home is worth in South Carolina versus find out what your home is worth in Michigan Heights. Okay, thank you, Linda. You were not freezing on their computer. It was between me and you. So that's good to know. Thank you for that, Kim and Linda. So good. So I don't need to repeat because they did hear that. Even I did. Okay, great. So I like that. So the next step is to determine where you want to focus your attention in terms of where you want to generate these leads. And then instead of doing this very broad, massive promotion to your entire market, get more granular and promote to a neighborhood. So when people are scrolling through social media, it grabs their attention because they see their community name, the community, the neighborhood they go home to every single night. When they see that on social media, they stop scrolling and they start to look and read. So the amount of, I'm going to call it readability, the impressions that you get are going to be higher when you get a little bit more granular in your approach. And then what can happen is you can then, when they click that link and they see that the actual widget, that's where it's also going to say, Michigan Heights in it. And it's going to continue the flow. So you may have them put them on, you may run post this on Facebook, and you may say, find out what your Michigan Heights home is worth. Then they click on that, they see the widget, and then the widget has Michigan Heights on it also. So they see that like, oh, they landed at the right page. Sometimes people will put something sexy in the post, and then they click the link, and the page is generic, and it doesn't feel like there was congruency there. It doesn't feel like they're on the right page. So then they just abandon it and bounce off. But if there's consistency, there's the name in the page Facebook post, and there's the name on the widget, when both of those things are happening, then they're more likely to put their information in because they feel like, oh, okay, this is legit. This is legit. Okay, that's just another step. The other scenario, this is a much more higher level, and within Real Geeks Mastery, we kind of go into it in depth because there'll be a ton of questions on it. Most people don't understand that what you can do with Facebook is you can build what they call a custom audience. In other words, I could go find all the data for my neighborhood, meaning the owners, the telephone numbers, and the email addresses and their addresses. You can all find easily the owners and the email addresses out of your courthouse records. But we take it a step further, and we go then append all of the email addresses and telephone numbers, and then we load that in as a custom audience, and then we run an ad to those people only. So now if we go to the courthouse records, find all Michigan Heights property owners. Now I have their emails and telephone numbers. If you then, we do that, then we load it to Facebook. And then I have an ad that has, find out what your Michigan Heights number property is worth. And they click on that link and see a home valuation widget that has Michigan Heights. Now it's extremely relevant. Most people are not doing what I just said. And so they're capturing people that have no relevance, with no relevance. Ours, we're capturing them with high relevance. So everybody we know that we capture, we already know is a documented property owner in that community. That's kind of where, when Abe and I are talking about Seller Leads 2.0, we can do a much more, I guess, go much deeper on that to show you all how to do that. So, Abe, we've kind of talked about get the tool, learn the tool, customize the tool, customize the post, make sure that the post and the landing page is both have Michigan Heights, quote unquote, on it. We talked about how to actually build a list to make sure that only documented property owners are going to see this post. We boost that post. Now we capture leads. What do we need to tell them about the leads that they're capturing?
Yeah, I mean, so the first step is to not prejudge the leads, right? So what I mean by prejudge is have the assumption that, okay, just because they clicked on that link and just because they put their email address and phone number does not necessarily mean that they're either ready to sell right now, but it also does not mean that they're not ready to sell right now. So don't prejudge the lead until you've actually had a conversation with them. All right. So the first step is actually call them up and get them on the phone, and then have the conversation with them and be of service to them and ask them, what you can do to help them. Some of them are just going to be curious about the price of their home, which is okay. And you need to be okay with that. Right. So the moment you do that, now you've already captured their information. You've had the conversation. You've come to realize that, hey, they're not ready just yet. Then perfect. You do a saved market report inside of Real Geeks, a couple of clicks there, and then you've got them saved. And now you've got them in your system to nurture for when they are ready. And then at some point, as you watch their activity, you can see as they start getting more and more active and look at their market reports, that's a cue for you to possibly, think that they're getting hotter and hotter. Or as they're getting these emails from you, maybe they reach out to you at some point. So the whole point is call the people and have a conversation with them before you prejudge them. Now, that's also going to be the case for partial leads, because you're going to get a lot of partial leads. Okay. So as soon as someone puts their address into Real Geeks, into the form, Real Geeks is going to capture their information, whether they proceed with their phone number and email or they don't. Right. So it's important that you reach out to these people and, again, have the conversation with them and see what you could do to help, and be willing. Okay, that if they're not ready, be willing to just be of value and ask them, hey, are you just curious to what your home is worth? Let me send you a more specific market report to help you out with that information. So be willing to be a giver, not just calling to get a listing or calling to get a commission check.
Yeah. You know what, Abe, I was thinking about as you're talking, I'm thinking about how many agents across the country wake up every day, they prospect, and they are so excited when they get yeah, I'm thinking about it. I haven't made a decision, but I am thinking about it. It's like when an agent has to wake up, get to the office, prospect for 2 to 3 hours a day. They have that much hard work vested in the process of looking for listing leads. And then they get somebody who says, you know what, we have been thinking about selling, not sure about doing it right this second, but we have been thinking about selling it. That person that has to put all that effort in to generate that lead, they're like, that's a success for the day. But then somebody who does a seller valuation tool that gets somebody to say, well, we're thinking about selling, but we're not sure about doing it right now. That agent that didn't have to do any work to get that, they think that lead sucks. Like, this makes no sense. Well, it does make sense, because my dad told me, I'm not going to buy your car, because if I buy for your first car, you're not going to change the oil. But if you have to spend your own money, you'll change the oil. My dad told me that, I don't know, 40 years ago or 36 years ago. And I'm going back and I'm like, man, my dad was so smart. He's so right. This applies to real estate agents too. It's like, if they don't have to generate the lead, they don't actually nurture the lead. But if they had to work hard to generate this same lead, they nurture it like crazy. So we need to make sure that we're not following into this mindset. This is like, we dream to get leads every day that are saying, yes, I'm thinking about selling, maybe not today. Because if they're thinking about selling in 3 months from today, guess what? In 3 months from today, it becomes a today. 1 year from today becomes a today. So one day you have all this going on and you wake up and you're like, oh, that one from yesterday is now today. And now you have a consistent flow of listings. Mm-hmm. That's what's happening here. So don't, like he says, don't make assumptions. Don't tell stories about the leads. All we're really doing is making connections on a daily basis. So we're going to make a new connection with somebody who's thinking about selling, which is totally different than somebody who's not thinking about selling. And we're going to then nurture that lead, knowing that they're probably at an early stage. They're at the investigative, or I call it the exploratory phase. They've been in the dreaming phase, which is, gosh, it sure would be nice to, like, you know, maybe we should leave Myrtle Beach and move to Florida. That's the dreaming phase. They spend all their time on our websites, never communicating with us. They spend their time on Zillow's websites, never talking to anybody, just dreaming. And then all of a sudden, they're like, the dream goes to exploring. Exploratory phase is, well, let me see what I could sell my property for. Let me see what my property's worth. That's now they're exploring. And we are now capturing people, not only in the dreaming phase, but the seller valuation tools, in my mind, they're at the exploratory phase. They're investigating, what if I did eventually act on my dream? And the exploratory phase is just one phase or stage away from the selling stage. But that means they're not in the selling stage yet. They're exploring. And if we build relationships with them while they're exploring, we will be the agent that's there when they're selling. And we have to understand, this is a business, and this is how you capture, nurture, and transact. We complain as an industry that we can't capture and transact fast enough. We don't want to do the nurture. So we make up things like the lead's terrible. So then it's logical that you would never nurture a lead that's terrible. Like we conveniently say what we need to say to justify not following up with these leads. So we make up stories like, this lead's dead. That's exactly what you should say in order to let yourself off the hook and not call them, because who in their right mind would call somebody that's actually really dead? So we're using words like this to trick our minds, and we're really justifying not taking action, which is hurting us in the long run. If any of you have done seller leads through a valuation tool in the last 2 years and you've quit on it, I challenge you to take all of those seller leads, call them all. You're going to be shocked at how many of them are listed or sold already. Anybody in Real Geeks that has them from a year ago to 2 years ago, call them all so you can do your own research and figure out whether or not they were good or not. All right,
Yeah,
what else, Abe?
It all comes down to speed to transaction, right? So
Yep.
we've got this expectation that if we get a lead that they're going to close soon. But if you take those leads and you expand the time frame, okay, instead of 30 days, you look at 6 months. A lot of them are going to convert. You look at 1 year, even bigger number can convert. You look to 2 years and 3 years, a large portion of those people that are in your database that you captured 2 or 3 years ago, like Greg said, or have already sold or in the process of selling or getting ready to sell. We just have to expand our mind of what the time frame is for sellers right now. And look, the old way of doing things was two-step. You capture a lead, you convert the leads. Okay, now capturing leads is as easy as it's ever been. I mean, there's just so many ways to capture leads. Okay, they're everywhere. Leads, yeah. Generating leads is not difficult anymore. Converting leads is not difficult. Once the lead is ready, anybody can close them. So the better agents right now are the ones that are able to nurture. It's that middle process that's getting a longer and longer time frame to do. So the better agents are the ones that are able to nurture, and that's the ones that are going to be positioned for the next few years to be able to convert at a high level. It's these companies out there, software companies, they're trying to crack that code. They're trying to crack the code is how can we've got the leads, we've got the agents, they'll pay us 30, 40, it'll even be 50% the referral fee at some point real soon. Yeah. Okay, now is how do we nurture them so we can hand it off to an agent on a silver platter? So that's something we could do ourselves.
Yes, this is so good, Abe. And you and I have been talking about this, and that is, there was for years that I was trying to crack the code on how to generate leads, how to capture a lot of leads, and and I can always do better, but we do capture a lot of leads. There's no doubt we have heavy lead flow. But my attention right now is how to. It's not focusing on lead flow because we've got that. So for those of you that don't have it, maybe you still need to put a little bit more attention on consistent lead flow. But I'm moving my attention from lead flow because we have good systems to totally revamping lead management. To me, it's no longer about who's the best at lead flow. It's about who's the best at lead management. Because any of us can go into any market, and I could go to any one of your markets. You can come to my market right now, and within a week, you could actually have lead flow. It's just a matter of what your budget is. Okay, so it's not as much as focusing on lead flow now because that's easy. That's so easy. But where the fall through now it's in lead management. Where the losses is in poor lead management. So my attention is shifting towards good lead management. That's one of our calls with Real Geeks Mastery was I was breaking down, and Lindsay was breaking down in the last couple of weeks about how I have a virtual VA ISAs, right? Which is ISAs, but I have them virtually. And we have really right now today, there are virtual assistants in our Real Geeks accounts nurturing and communicating and texting and emailing and changing search criteria. There's all kinds of things that I have a team doing right now as we speak. And we're talking in Real Geeks, I was giving them an idea of this is the text we use. This is the email we use in these situations. This is how we're tracking it. These are the reports that we're sending to the individual agent who has these databases, et cetera. See, I'm putting a lot of my time and energy right now in lead management. And because collecting the leads and capturing the leads is easy, it's all about conversion. At one point, I increased my revenue by capturing more. At this point, I'm not as concerned about capturing more. I'm concerned about converting more. And that's lead management.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you said the word attention, which is really important right now. There's two words that come to my mind. It's attention and retention. So right now is how do you keep their attention? because there are so many sources they can go to. There's just so much data out there and websites that people can go to. How do you keep their attention? Why should they keep coming back to your website and not Zillow and Trulia and everywhere else, or your competitor down the road? And then how do you have the highest level of retention? So when they are ready to go, that they think of you because you've called them so many times, you've sent them so much data that is of value to them, that they're only going to go with you, whether it's now or whether it's 5 years from now. That's what it comes down to right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. Well, I hope that you all have enjoyed today's session on seller leads. What Abe and I are talking about is what we're practicing. So we're not sitting here talking about something that you can do with Real Geeks. We are talking about something that we do with Real Geeks. So, we have a good bit of experience with this. We recommend that you move in this direction. If you're looking for seller leads, and even in today's market, yes, we can get seller leads. There's no question about it. So if you have any questions, comments, go ahead and put it in the chat, in the comment section. And as always, I monitor it, and we'll get back and answer some of those later on. Abe, thank you so much for joining me and for bringing such great value again.
Enjoyed it, Greg. Thank you all for watching.
All right. Bye-bye.